skulle varit höjt. Hello. We are live. It's Wisdom Wednesday. It is the start of the retreat as well. So it's a double up, and it's a solar eclipse in Leo. And we are talking about the knowing of the non-knowing, which is kind of the path. Well, it is kind of that bypass of knowing into knowing, which kind of is the Advaita Vedanta path, or entering into realizing that you don't know, that you are not in your thoughts, so that you're detached from your thoughts, and in that space you can come to the knowing of the I am, knowing that you're not your thoughts, which is a lot of people in different traditions talk about. They kind of saying the some people call it the bypassing of spirituality. But this knowing of non-knowing, it's kind of like there's a fast, it's kind of a, yeah, it's a bypass. It's kind of the fast route. Eckhart Tolle, like different people talk about it. It's kind of, you get a glimmer of knowing, and yet this path that we're talking about here is the knowing of body being, or the kind of the greater self, the greater, the integral being. In my path, I became the knower of the path, the knowing. That's what in my release, when I detached from my body, I found the path. So I had the knowing of the path. And yet I still had to walk the path. Most people, everybody has knowing, but they're not aware of the knowing. You have a gut feeling. I feel it's right. I feel love. I feel that makes sense. I feel thoughts. I feel logic. I feel bodily sensation. We have different levels of knowing. We can connect to knowing in different ways. So everybody knows, but since we kind of just have a glimmer of it in different ways, and since we're not ever since we're little babies, we have kind of taken on, because knowing requires truth. So if you come to the truth that I am, that is a truth, but there are many truths. Knowing is being connected to truth. But if we are connected to the knowing of lies, then we are not in the knowing, then we are in the belief. I believe this. I believe in religion. I believe in, when you know the lie, when you know untruth, you believe. And that's where most people are stuck. They're stuck in believing. Yoga is kind of the path of believing. I believe that I can get somewhere. Believing. Now, most followers can kind of get stuck in, I believe that I am. I believe this. I believe that I'm man. I believe this. I believe all kinds of stuff. Believing is like your vision is clouded. So if you, instead of focusing on what I believe in, we want to direct that belief into being open to, we have to search for the truth, we have to search for the knowing, then our belief can lead us to knowing. But most people kind of get stuck in just that, I believe this, I believe, so they don't know, so they're stuck in belief, they're just looking up. Then you are kind of the, like the yogi, like the constant follower, constant, it's like praying constantly to something greater instead of reaching the knowing, which is then you have the truth. So it's kind of fun teaching. So when we kind of rely and we get stuck, because when we feel love, we feel purpose, we feel identity, we feel connection to religion, all this stuff, we get stuck in the belief. So we stop there. So kind of the Advaita Vedanta, they kind of, that is kind of what we are in actually the West. The atheism is kind of the, has kind of almost bypassed. It's kind of like Advaita Vedanta, where you almost be like, I'm not going to believe in Christianity. I'm not going to believe in anything. I'm not going to believe in in the power structure. I'm not going to believe anything. And then that bypass is almost that in atheism, like my dad, then you feel this sense of knowing. But that knowing is kind of stuck in that most people, the great thinkers, were men, so they got stuck in gender. They got stuck there. So we're like the atheism, the thinkers of the West, we kind of got like, oh, we feel so knowledgeable. We see all the, oh, we see the errors of the West, of the East, of the South, all these people, we just feel so knowledgeable, we just feel so like we are. So we're almost at the I am, but it's like that thin layer that's stuck. It's like, I am man. Then all the men starts to be like, well, because I'm man, I have to be nice to the women, and I have to believe my daughters, and then because of this little thin veil, kind of creates the problems of the West, where everybody's actually getting sucked into, we have to do socialism, we have to do like Islam, we have to do all these things because we're just there. We're just at the edge there. So atheism is a great, it's a great philosophy, so to speak. It almost brings us to the knowing. It's just that last little oomph. And then the Advaita Vedanta and these people, they kind of get past that, but they just get touching kind of that little sand, like a little sandcorn, like a little, like just a little glimmer, a little fraction of the knowing. The body being, the integral being, is that when you understand the path, which is through the body, then we can kind of harness and we can connect to these different, there's different levels of knowing. There's the intuition, there's the bodily knowing. That's like, I can hear truth, I can see truth, I can taste it, I can be it, I can become it. There's many levels of being, of truth, that we can all come together, and it becomes a greater knowing. So for me, my knowing that I started with was that I found the path. so that I realized that it was through the body. There was a knowing that I knew the path, and I still had to walk the path. So now I'm teaching the path, and yet that it's kind of like we're putting up retreats, we're putting up books. There's different ways of connecting to knowing, but then you don't get stuck in just a fragment of knowing. Continue. If you just have a little bit, you still will. If you just have like Eckhart Tolle, like have like a fragment of knowing, his body is still attached to the unconscious. So then he still sits like this, because his body is still like, hello, yeah, so this is very clever. So his whole body is still not in knowing. So you're not attaching to the greater knowing. That kind of requires an understanding of the path, not just reaching for the knowing, because then that becomes a doing. And knowing is not a doing, it's a non-doing. It is kind of just an allowing. So that's kind of where we are, kind of at the time where we can see these different paths and see that everybody has wisdom, but they're also stuck in different ways. So when you are looking at different things, then we can start to, you know, become open. Kind of democracy, kind of like the West. You open, we can talk about it, we can look at it. And that has not really necessarily been a time like this ever before. Yeah, exactly. That was the crow. Ah, 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 ah. So that knowing can kind of grow, and when it's knowing, it's effortless. It's not of doing. It's like when you're dreaming in the morning, or you're like kind of like in like morning, kind of just morning haze, or just, and then suddenly the sun hits you and you're like, oh, you kind of come into the awakening. It just becomes like, of course I'm awake. That's the knowing, that it's like there is no doubt that right now I'm just hello. So knowing is kind of effortless, but it also is kind of a flow, and it is a growing of things. And there's different levels. You can hear it, you can think it, you can taste it, you can smell it, you can connect with it, you can feel the love of it, you can feel the body of it. There's many levels, and everybody has usually one. Is more connected to one knowing and the other. But it's just when people be like, my gut feeling tells me this. But the problem is, because in a way there is knowing, but since we haven't released the ego of it, the ego have you've been fed with lies or untruth. So then it becomes belief. I believe this is true. I believe this is because you can't really, as long as you can discern truth from not truth, then you are still in I believe. It's kind of like in the Kung Fu Panda, like, oh, you have to believe. Yeah, you have to believe. Believe just means that you have to stay open. So we have to use believe, but don't be like, I believe. Well, you're trying to say, I know. I believe this is the West. No, you're trying to say, I know this is, but you don't know. You're just kind of like, I hope. So the belief, when people get stuck in belief, they just get stuck in confusion, because then suddenly, like the West, we believe we have discovered the perfect society, and then yet we suddenly we get all these things that attack us, and then we start to falter, we start to like lose our ground, because we have to. That's the beauty of life. We have to show. Only until you kind of are stable, you will get attacked by the dark side, by confusion, by lies, by like temptation. Until you kind of step into the knowing, which is just naturally just it's a non-doing. It's at a matter of facts. Yeah, so that is kind of the path of awakening, is kind of to step in the knowing. But that is so easy that nobody can find it. And that is where the teacher comes in. It's a trusting that the knowing can happen. So my knowing was that I actually knew there was a knowing of the path. So instead of focusing on getting there, which oh, well, when will the light hit you in the morning? Yeah, but when is that going to be? What's the astrology? They said the sun is, or oh, the sun is supposed to be here. Well, there are clouds. Aha. There's all these different things. There's thoughts. There's all these doubts clouding the sun. We can be like, I had this astrologist telling me that the sun will hit me there. The moon, the solar eclipse will awaken me. We have so many of them going crazy now. Did you not feel it? When you are in the knowing, like every day can be a solar eclipse because it is your energy that is actually like connected. Then the then the air becomes thick. It becomes that you are using your whole body to step into reality. Then everything is like being drunk but clear at the same time, not attached to any thought or ideology or different things to feel, to be, to live, to love, to nurture, to exist. So, wow, and this one is actually live for the first time. I'm doing a live one. I've got like a lot of people commenting. Jag säger, du vet vilken dritt. Härligt. Yes, but this first part is actually just this is the only official. We're actually kind of going to step into the second part, which is not going to be here. So if you want to, you could come into the Patreon, the my closed society. You have to, where all the when you really feel the, oh, maybe I want to kind of tap in and go deeper and say like yes. This is the invitation to say yes. That is, it's easy to say, okay, just carry me. Like everybody in the world is kind of spoiled these days. We're just given this world, and we're just getting entitlement. We should be so privileged. We should live in the perfect country. We should have money. We should all this stuff. Nobody's allowed to tell us get a grip, but we still have to dare to get in there and get dirty. Get dirty. Yeah. So if you want to come in to this and check it out more, check it out. We were starting a retreat. If you are wanting to join it, you can online too. If you are wanting to know, want to know. Well, I guess we're talking about knowing. So check it out there. Let me know. Text if you have questions. And with that, I bid you farewell. See ya.